Oh man, holy freaking moly, did it get cold, man. It's down in like the teens. In the past couple of weeks, or a month, or 2 months, it's been in the 60s and 70s. So man, we got a horrendous storm. But anyways, I wanted to just add up all the heat exchangers I have, the PLM, the factory, and the Berger Motorsports. Get the weights, get the fluid content in ounces, how much it holds, not just percentages. And bring that to y'all. I just want to say, I've got video, and I'll attach that to the end where I weigh when I calculate how much contents are in each one. And I want to make everyone understand I'm not a professional video business or a reviewer, and so I just have to do this in my house, and it's just in my bathroom, and it's not as professional as I would like it to be, but I mean it's terribly cold outside, and I just don't have a lot of access to cool space to kind of stretch out and do that. So so just bear with me. Hopefully things will get a little bit better in the future, and I can be just on a little bit more professional level. But just wanted to bring this video to you and let you see some of these and see some closer up pictures that I have of the different heat exchangers together. So with that said, look forward to bringing this content to you. Okay, appreciate it. Whew, man, I am freezing my ass off. It's in the probably the middle of the 20 degrees, 25, 24 degrees, but dang, it feels so cold. I'm spoiled with it being 60 and 70 degrees the last couple months. Really, really, really nice. So it is. We got a storm that's come in up from north and brought this just super cold weather. So, but my antifreeze, my coolant mix that came out of my heat exchanger, and it's got a little bit more water content in it. It hasn't frozen, so all the water sitting in the dog pond and other things for his drinking water, it's frozen solid. So, so that is probably good news that I'm not going to freeze over my cooling system. But also too, I want to talk about what some people maybe not are going to recognize or realize, but just real quick, when you've got the Berger Motorsports heat exchanger, it's really a good idea to realize this, that your Berger Motorsports is repositioned from the factory position where the smaller unit was, and it is lower in the car, and it is moved outwards towards the front of the car. So so it's getting its airflow, and I've measured it, just quickly, it's about a foot off the ground. So in the summer when it's the concrete's 120 degrees, 130 degrees, and then as you get up as higher off the highway or the ground, it gets less hot. It's the concrete that is radiating that heat up, and it's well over, it may be 100 degrees outside, but the concrete is 130, 140 degrees, in the middle of the summer of Texas. So your heat exchanger being down so low is adding that heat of that concrete. So, but also too, it's away from, in our cars, most cars have a fan. So you have a big fan on the other side of your radiator, and so when your car starts getting hot, the computer senses that and turns on that fan and starts sucking air through the front. It's depending on probably at lower speeds, driving around the city, at lower speeds, and when the motor starts getting hot, because obviously even it could possibly, at highway speeds, you can also turn on your air conditioner, and sometimes you can hear that fan kicking on. So the importance of that fan is that the fan is sucking air through the front of the car, and it's sucking air in through the radiator, and that's what the additional airflow is what keeps your car, when you're sitting through a drive-through, and it's 100 degrees outside and your temperatures go up to 140, 150, your fan kicks on and your thermostat opens, and and it allows it to suck in air, and that's what keeps it cool, because there's not a lot of airflow coming in. So the advantages of having the Mishimoto or the AMS or the PLM, for that fact, is that it fits into the factory spot, and it's really, and I've seen this by doing this install and uninstall and install, that the factory units and the PLM and the other units, they almost sit up and touch the radiator. And this is, initially I thought that was a bad thing. I was like, man, how is that supposed to get air through the radiator if it's got to be sucked through the heat exchanger first? But now I see the importance that it's, when the fan kicks on, when the heat exchanger is so close to the radiator, it acts as one unit and it sucks the air in through them both. And so it gets the cooling effect for both. Where the Berger Motorsports being down and you know, 10 inches or 8 inches or 7 inches, I don't know precisely, but being down and away, it's not getting the benefit of that sucking of the fan through the cooling. So I've heard people mention, and I've practiced this and known this for a little, you can either, you know, turn your heat on, or you can turn your air conditioner on when you're sitting at the track, say, you know, and your temperatures are just, heat exchanger and your coolant temperatures are up high, and you can turn on your air conditioner and start that fan and suck air, and you can watch your temps, you know, drop. It's not as drastic as a chiller killer, but it does show some advantages, because I was at the track in low 70-degree weather, and my heat exchanger was sitting at about 125 degrees, and it would not drop. Even with my hood open, sitting with the car, not idling, just in the line of, you know, the 100 cars waiting to go down the drag strip, it was just sitting at 123 to 125. It would not drop down. And it was only, you know, low 71 degrees. So there may be an advantage to the PLM over the Berger Motorsports, but the Berger Motorsports has more fluid capacity, obviously, and so there just probably have some trade-offs and some advantages. But, you know, I think I'm excited about the PLM to see. I mean, it's almost a duplicate copy of the AMS, you know, and I wish AMS, you know, I had an AMS to test the fluid content and tell how much was in there, because people range and say it's got 50 ounces, it's got 100 ounces, it's got, you know, 25 ounces. I mean, the percentages, like I said, are very confusing, you know, and just saying it's 400%. I mean, if you're a good math person, you can calculate how many ounces, but I like to measure stuff, and I don't take anyone's word for anything, really, you know, unless it's my family or someone I really trust to tell me accurate information. And so I would just like to see exactly how much one had here, just alongside the other heat exchangers that I tested, and, you know, I can tell for myself. And so, yeah, so I'm going to show a quick close-up shot of the PLM. Man, I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't get a good still photo shot of the PLM. I mean, it's not that interesting, but for me, it was a very interesting photo, and it might have been for a few other people that are into, you know, looking at how it looks and how, you know, the size of it. I had a brain fart when I was putting that all back on, and I just didn't get a real good shot of the PLM, but I got one of the Berger Motorsports before I took it out. So I'm gonna get a close-up, probably video, maybe a still shot of looking down in this crack right here, where you can see the PLM and see the width and see how close it is to the radiator. And then you can also see too, hopefully, how close that PLM, Mishimoto, and the AMS would be to that brace that comes down. There's a plastic brace that comes down, and you really tough to squeeze when you're installing these, to squeeze those in between the radiator and that plastic brace. And so there's really not much more room, I mean, millimeters between the front and back to grow in size, or grow in the, not width, but the width as far as how wide it is, not the length or the width of it, but, you know, as far as it goes back, you know, they're not very wide in that degree. But I'm going to show you and shoot some video, okay? Okay, as you can see, and I'm going to have to hold the camera still and move my fingers, but there is just almost no gap right there. It is very, very minimal, almost touching the radiator. And then And as you come down, and if I can hold the camera still, down there, the brace right here, the black brace that comes down, there's a little more area up at the top, but as it goes down there towards the bottom, I mean, it's almost touching the PLM, you know, or the Mishimoto or the AMS. So there's just really no more room to grow in size. As you can see, I mean, it mounts all the way over to the edge of the radiator on the car, and then comes over all the way over there. And here is the top of that bolt that comes off, and you can fill, you can drain, or you fill it and bleed it if you want to do it that way. But I mean, it goes all the way down, and then there's the temp sensor right there, the hose. And I mean, there's just not a lot of room in there. So very, very close. That looks like it got, jacked up, but it's not. It's just, those are a little bit different colored, or just reflecting light a little bit differently. But yeah, you can see, there's the hose. Yeah, so that's it. I was approached to see if I wanted to buy at a pretty stiff discount the reservoir, the one-piece reservoir, metal or aluminum reservoir that combines both of these reservoir tanks, the radiator and the heat exchanger. But I don't see the benefit of that, and because these are overflow containers, so the fluid that is contained in the coolant system is flowing through the system. So this is the heat exchanger, if you don't know, and this is for the radiator. So adding a lot more coolant to either one of these tanks, these are overflow tanks, so it's not growing the system coolant capacity. But it's actually, because these don't fluctuate. These fluctuate only with the coolant as it heats up, and the volume increases of that fluid, so that it at least has somewhere to go and be contained. And then as it cools down, then the tanks will lower. So growing those tanks and double in size is only adding fluid that's pretty much going to stay in these reservoir containers. So I see no benefit to increasing the size of those, and just not a real big benefit. Then you can't really see easily, your coolant content down there. See your coolant content down there. So that's an advantage of having the clear bottle. So yeah, I just think I'll just pass that along. So I'm just going to stick with the factory units in that department and not get that. It's just not going to be worth it to me. And plus two, it's just extra money that I don't need to spend. Okay. Anyways, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I really have some really cool people that tell me, reach out to me and say they enjoy my content and my videos, and that means a ton. This stuff is actually kind of hard to do, and it's not for everyone. So, it's got its ups and its downs, and so I'm glad that people like what I'm doing, a few people, and enjoy some of the things I do. I mean, because it takes a lot of effort, but I enjoy doing it anyways. So again, I appreciate everybody, and it's not just, saying that lightly. I do enjoy when people say, "Good job, man, I really like your content." It hits me inside, and makes it all worth it. So I appreciate it, because there are some people that are harsh, and then you go away and you don't feel real good about your videos and things and the things you do. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everyone watching, and I'm gonna go inside and get warm, because you can see I'm shaking, and have a good day, and I'll catch you on another video as usual. Bye-bye. All right, I'm back. Got my INFINITI Q50S Signature Edition 3.0T Burger Motorsports heat exchanger out of my car. And man, the first thing whenever I pick this up is, wow, this thing is that freaking Sherman tank. Whew. Compared to my PLM or the stock one, and I've held the AMS, man, this thing, when you pick it up, I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, it doesn't weigh as much as when you pick it up what you think it does. I mean, maybe the scale's broken, but man, this thing is a monster of a beast. But so here I'm going to measure the capacity of the fluid or the contents, how much it holds just compared to the others. And I just find it really funny and ironic and kind of disappointing that more of the manufacturers, or all of them, won't list the how much of the contents it holds. It's always percentages, you know, and that's what the car manufacturers do. This year's model is 5% longer than the other one, and percentages are such a they don't tell you what you really want to know. Percentages seem, you can get a big percentage and it's only an inch when it gains in overall length. And so fluid capacity is the same thing. You've got a little bitty minuscule factory heat exchanger. It's at 7.5 ounces, which I've measured already. And you jump that up to 200%, and what that's like 14.5 or 15 ounces. And so that 200 is a huge percentage number, you know. And then even if you jump up to 400 or 500%, you're really not gaining that much fluid over the little small factory. It's very deceiving number. So I wish that the heat exchanger people, or just in general, would just put how many fluid ounces it holds. I mean, that's what we kind of deal with here in America, or fluid ounces. And I have a little cup here that has, and this will show me 18 fluid ounces, and then I'll dump it out and I'll measure, you know, additional content if it has it. But here, I'm just want to measure this, and so to get this out there, everyone just says, well, man, mine holds this much, and they have no clue how much it holds, or someone told them and they didn't tell them the accurate number, or they're just thinking that it's this many ounces it holds, or content-wise. But actually, so I'm measuring all this stuff so that there's no dispute. I mean, obviously, if I fill it up with water and I pour out how much is in there and I measure it, then that's how much it holds. So it makes sense. Okay, so enough yapping, and I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up, and then we're gonna measure it. So let me get this going. All right. All right. Okay, there's 18. I'm gonna lay it on a flat surface. 18 fluid ounces. All right, 18 fluid ounces. Make sure we get it all out of there. So 18, and looks like that's 10. Just a little bit above 10. We're just gonna call that 10. It might be 10.2. All right, so the Burger Motorsports, man, this thing is 46 ounces, maybe 46.2 ounces, but yeah, 46 ounces, which is called 46 ounces. So there you go. That's what this big mama, and that's mainly because these end tanks are so much more bigger. But this is actually where the cooling happens in between. You know, the flowing from end tank to end tank is where, in the channels, is where it cools. And these are quite a bit bigger channels than the AMS and the PLM. I don't have the Mishimoto in front of me, but these channels are a lot smaller. So these are actually, you know, flowing more fluid across quicker, instead of what I can conceive that, you know, the PLM, which they're smaller, it's a smaller channel, that it's not flowing the fluid as quickly, so it's having a little bit more time to dissipate heat with this air blowing through the little veins here. So yeah, so interesting to know. Now it's documented how much this has in it, and nobody can really argue against it. So here we go. All right. Okay, let's see here if I'm in the video. This is the only way I got to measure sensibly, you know, accurately, the ounces. So 16 ounce goes all the way up to the red line right here. Let's see if I see myself. Okay, so we got that there. I'm going to measure, like I did the last time with the factory little bitty heat exchanger. I'm going to measure the contents of this PLM heat exchanger. So I got just that little thing hopefully closed off there well enough to make sure, so that I'm not having to hold hands on all kinds of leaking water. Okay, so if I can do this without banging it around, I'm just going to leave this in here in the top, get my jug, fill it up, non-scientific. This is the best way to do this. Alright, so that appears to be full. I'll put my finger over that. Just make sure it's all in there. Okay, so I'm just gonna pour this in to the to my little small container here, or my my cooking cup, and measure it by 16 ounces. So here we go. So it's in the video. There's 16 ounces right here. $16 in the cup, so pour that out. See if I can. I have to speed this up on the video so it's not so boring. All of it out of there. So let me put this down so I don't damage the little fins. Okay, so we had 16 ounces, and now let me set it on something level. just short of 12 ounces. So 16 plus 12 ounces. 16 plus 12 ounces. So this heat exchanger with these, pretty small end tanks, this heat exchanger holds from inlet to outlet 28 ounces of coolant, or fluid. And I'm actually I've got something that I clean my air conditioner with, a professional degreaser. I don't know exactly what it's called. I bought it after learning about it to clean the air conditioner, the outside evaporator or whatever the outside unit is, so that it works better, and it cleanses heating coils. And so I'm going to put that in the inside, some of it mixed with some water, slosh that around and wash it out with the hose. Of course, I'm going to fill this up with distilled water. You never want to just put water from your drinking fountain, your drinking water, tap water, because it has different things in the water that will potentially cause buildup in your heat exchanger and your radiator. So you want to use distilled water. So other than that, 28 ounces, I think is what I said. So 28 ounces. Like I said, it's not tremendously big, but it's really how it flows and how it functions. So we'll see how that works out as far as data logging numbers and seeing temperatures. And I'll just compare it to my Burger Motorsports that I've had for a year, and I have hundreds of data logs in different temperatures. All the way up from down to 40 degrees, all the way up to 105 degrees. So we'll see if this is worth the money. A little bit less money, or a couple $100 less money than the most expensive AMS. So, all right, there we go. All right, since I've got it here, I'm going to measure this factory heat exchanger again. And this time, my other cup that I mix oil for the two-stroke motorcycles and stuff, it's just too hard to see clearly. So I'm going to go back to my measuring cup, my cooking measuring cup. So 16 ounces is the max. It registers there. So let me start doing this again. One thing I noticed is that this thing is slow to flow the fluid across the heat exchanger. Let me get this a little bit off the hot.
Okay, well.
It's just so small, and I'll show you the details. These, let's see if it levels off. Okay, shut that down. Okay, see the little bitty passages there in the center. That's what carries the fluid in between the little cooling veins, and so these are almost microscopic. These are very, very small. So you have to imagine there's a little channel inside of these little veins that run through here. So they're little tiny. So there's just a little bit of fluid, just minuscule amount crossing. There's maybe 20 of those, but it's not flowing at any kind of rate of speed. You don't want to flow it too fast, and you don't want to flow it too slow. But as you can see, I have to hold that for it to transfer the fluid to one of the tanks to the other and fill this up. It takes a lot longer than both of the other heat exchangers that I brought. So let's see now that I got it full at the top and I got the bottom plugged. Let's see how much it holds. down. All right, let's set it on a level surface just real quick. All right, it says it's just a little over, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11. A little under 9, you know, a little over 8.5, so a little over 8.5. And then my previous video, I said it was approximately about 8. So here it's about 8.5, just under 9. So we'll just bump that up and say that it is up to 9 instead of 8. So 9. It's a little below 9, but we'll go with and just mark it up to 9. So there we go. 9 fluid ounces for the factory heat exchanger. It's closer to maybe 8.5. So 8.5, 9 ounces. So I don't know, whatever.